Invisible Casualties: How America's Economic Success Deliberately Sacrifices Black Women. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here today. I want to start by acknowledging the extraordinary woman whose work forms the foundation of everything I'll share with you. Aiesha Grant isn't just a brilliant economic researcher and advocate. She's a modern day prophet whose data driven revelations have torn away the comfortable veil we drape over our economic system. Through relentless investigation and fearless truth telling, Aisha has illuminated what many have felt but couldn't prove: that our economy's success comes at a calculated cost, deliberately paid by Black women. Her meticulous research doesn't just document disparities, it exposes the machinery that creates them. In a world drowning in opinions, Aisha's work stands as something far more powerful, irrefutable evidence. We hear it constantly, don't we? The economy is booming. Unemployment is at historic lows. America is back. These triumphant headlines wash over us daily, creating a comforting narrative of collective prosperity. But beneath these broad, soothing brushstrokes lies a reality so starkly different, so deliberately concealed, that when you finally see it, you can never unsee it. Here's what they don't want you to know. Despite overall job growth in the economy, Black women specifically lost 38,000 jobs in April 2025. Their unemployment increased by 106,000 people. This represents the steepest decline of any demographic group, with their unemployment rate jumping a full percentage point to 6.1% in just 1 month. Let that sink in for a moment. While America celebrates recovery, an entire demographic of women is experiencing what can only be described as an economic massacre. And this isn't random chance, it isn't statistical noise. It isn't just the market at work. It's by design. Black women workers at the federal level have declined by an estimated 33% within the last year, compared to just a 3.7% drop across the workforce overall. This isn't coincidence, it's consequence. It's what happens when diversity initiatives are systematically dismantled, when inclusion is labeled as divisive, when equity becomes a dirty word in the halls of power. We've been taught to believe that economic progress is like a rising tide that lifts all boats. It's a beautiful metaphor, isn't it? So clean, so simple, so utterly false. Because what if some boats have holes deliberately poked in them? What if some boats are anchored to the bottom? The tide rises, but these boats remain submerged or worse, sink further into the depths. This is the reality Aisha's research has uncovered for Black women in today's economy, and it should shake us to our core. Let me share three revelations from Aisha's work that fundamentally reshape how we must think about workplace equity. First, the recent spike in Black women's unemployment isn't random or simply economic. Economists have directly attributed it to the anti DEI focus of the current administration's policies. When diversity initiatives are dismantled at the federal level, corporations follow suit like obedient children, creating a cascading effect that particularly harms Black women professionals. This demonstrates how policy decisions that may seem abstract on paper manifest as lost livelihoods, foreclosed homes, and children going hungry. Second, Black women face a unique combination of challenges in the workplace that create what Aisha calls the impossible labyrinth. Not only are they dealing with the gender pay gap, still at 83 cents on the dollar for women overall in 2025, but they also experience higher rates of microaggressions, forcing 78% to self shield at work. Black women are more than twice as likely as women overall to code switch, toning down what they say or do to avoid negative reactions. Imagine the exhaustion of this daily performance, this constant self editing, this perpetual diminishment of one's authentic self just to survive in spaces that claim to value diversity of thought. Third, the recent tariffs implemented by the current administration have particularly devastated small businesses that hire Black women. This shows how seemingly unrelated economic policies create precisely targeted destruction. When combined with federal layoffs where Black people are more represented, we see a perfect storm of economic factors working against Black women's employment prospects. As the brilliant Audre Lorde once said, there is no such thing as a single issue struggle because we do not live single issue lives. For Black women in the workplace, this truth is lived daily as they navigate intersecting challenges that compound and amplify each other. Let me take you inside what's happening in the federal workforce, historically a critical employer for Black professionals, offering stable careers with benefits and advancement opportunities. Between 2024 and 2025, we witnessed what can only be described as an engineered purge. Black women workers at the federal level faced a 33% decline in employment within a single year, compared to just a 3.7% drop across the federal workforce overall. This came as a direct result of the elimination of diversity initiatives at the federal level. Organizations like Creative Investment Research have begun tracking and publicizing these statistics, creating an evidence based foundation for addressing these disparities. Their analysis has helped frame the unemployment spike not as a random economic fluctuation, but as a direct policy outcome, potentially influencing future policy discussions. But the assault doesn't stop at government employment. Corporate America's approach to diversity initiatives directly affects Black women's employment opportunities in ways that expose the hollow nature of corporate promises. Despite 60% of companies increasing their financial and staffing investments in diversity, equity, and inclusion over the past year, and nearly 3 in 4 HR leaders saying DEI is critical to their company's future success, Black women continue to face disproportionate job losses. There's a devastating disconnect between stated DEI ambitions. 70% of organizations express transformative DEI ambitions and actual infrastructure. Only 47% say they have the infrastructure to realize those ambitions. This shows that many companies are still performing inclusion rather than practicing it. Corporate America has had a complicated relationship with diversity initiatives, often making public commitments while struggling with implementation. The recent political climate has made some companies hesitant to continue their DEI efforts, fearing backlash. This cowardice has real human costs. And then there's the persistent gender pay gap for Black women, a wound that refuses to heal despite decades of awareness. In 2025, women overall still earn only 83 cents for every dollar earned by men, the same as the previous year. For Black women, the gap is even wider due to the intersection of gender and racial biases. Over 2 decades, this gap has barely shrunk, moving just 4 cents since 2003. Progress remains frustratingly slow. While younger women aged 25, 34 do somewhat better, earning 95 cents per dollar, the gap widens as women age, suggesting that career advancement remains a significant challenge. The continued documentation of these disparities keeps pressure on organizations and policymakers to address systemic inequities, though recent policy shifts have complicated these efforts. As Maya Angelou wisely noted, when someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time. The data is showing us exactly who our economic system is designed to benefit and who it is designed to sacrifice. It's time we believe what we're seeing. What's particularly striking about Aiesha's research is how it reveals the interconnected nature of these challenges. Policy changes at the federal level don't just affect government employees, they send signals to the private sector. Economic policies like tariffs don't just affect international trade, they impact small businesses that employ vulnerable populations. The gender pay gap isn't just about salary, it's about how we value contributions and who we see as leaders. These aren't isolated problems, they're features of a system that wasn't designed with Black women in mind. But here's where I find hope and where Aiesha's work becomes truly transformative. By making these patterns visible, by quantifying what many have experienced but couldn't prove, she's creating the foundation for change. As Shirley Chisholm once said, if they don't give you a seat at the table, bring a folding chair. Aiesha's research is that folding chair, creating space in economic discussions for perspectives that have been systematically excluded. The affirmation that sustains this work is powerful. My existence is resistance. My joy is revolutionary. My success dismantles systems never built for me. I stand before you today, not just to share information, but to ignite transformation. The data we've discussed isn't just numbers, it's the quantified suffering of real women with real dreams, real families, real potential being deliberately wasted by systems that claim to be fair while being anything but. This stops now. This stops with us. I challenge every person in this room to become a disruptor in your own sphere. If you lead teams, audit your pay practices today, not tomorrow, not next quarter, today. If you influence hiring, demand diverse candidate pools and hold yourself accountable for equitable outcomes. If you shape policy, center the voices of those most affected by your decisions. And for everyone, regardless of position, speak up when you witness the subtle and not so subtle ways Black women are marginalized. Amplify their voices without taking their spotlight. Share their work without claiming their credit. The economy isn't an abstract force of nature, it's the result of human decisions, human policies, and human values. Different choices are possible, different outcomes are necessary. As Aiesha Grant's groundbreaking research shows us, the first step toward change is seeing clearly what's happening. The next step belongs to us, refusing to accept it as inevitable and acting with urgency and purpose to create the just world we claim to believe in. The time for polite concern is over. The time for decisive action is now. Thank you.